Hey everybody, what's up? Circus here. We got a meta-analysis video for you. We're going to look at all the decks on the power rankings and see how they've been doing post-ban list. So I got Ryi here with me because he's the expert.
Hello.
We're going to talk, we're just going to go on the list and just see how the ban list has affected them.
Yeah.
Or if it has or if it hasn't kind of thing. So last week, first place was Shiranui. What do you think of that? I know I have my opinion on it, but what do you think?
Yeah, so Shiranui is an interesting place. A lot of people were looking at the ban list thinking if anything on Shiranui is touched, it's the end of Shiranui. But Konami said, let's pull an Uno card and change where Spectral Sword and Solitaire are.
It's the one with the arrows, right? The reverse.
Yeah, the reverse one. Whoop! So it's a really interesting change because essentially it doesn't really change the deck too much, but what it does do, since now you only can play 2 Solitaire compared to 3 Solitaire, is you have just one less card where one less card chance, so 33% less chance between if it's 3, right? So it's 99
Right.
point whatever. So you have like that 33% less chance to open Squire turn 1, and going first or going second basically means you have less chance to open Sun Saga or Shogun Saga if you're playing level duplication or level aug. I think most people are slowly starting to go back to level aug now, especially with like Black Wings being everywhere.
But
people are liking that
in practice or reality, what are we seeing?
Shiranui's bricking more.
Is it?
Turn
Okay.
1. It's still obviously it's still one of the more complete decks in the meta right now. Definitely very powerful. Definitely one of the most top represented decks out there. And of course, the deck will always live and die by its back row. As long as the core exists, ultimately some people are teching in 1 Cosmic Cyclone, some people are going 1 Gold Sark, but for the most part, people are just playing an additional back row, playing another Fiendish Chain, playing another Floodgate, playing another Ballista Squad, whatever the case may be. The only thing the ban list has touched is it slightly touched the consistency that Shiranui had before. So you're going to see a little bit less turn 1 Sun Saga, Shogun Saga, but you're still going to see a ton of triple sets, double sets, and it's just that's what Shiranui is.
I did a tournament this past Sunday, and I swear I saw Squire every first turn from those guys. I didn't see the bricks. I was going to argue that it didn't really seem to affect it a whole lot. But
today we definitely saw high. I believe the Shiranui that went the furthest in the tournament. We spectated him like twice, and in all his games, I think he played 5 games total. No Squires, just completely missing. Okay. At one point, I was like, "Man, did he just cut it all together to play more Cosmics or something?" I checked the deck and I was like, "No, they're there. You just didn't draw them."
Okay.
So it's just one of those things where it's like, a very easy test to do is you can go into Duel Links, make a deck, put a card that to be a proxy for Squire. And if you draw that card and you don't draw another Squire, there you go. You didn't draw
sure,
Squire that
right.
game. Yeah. So
all right, second place on the power rankings, not the ban list. The second place on the power rankings was Black Wings. Now they didn't really get hit directly, but we saw in last week's power rankings they're definitely the deck on the move. They got the highest conversion rate right now besides Heroes. They're way up in their conversion rate, way up in their top 32s, way up in their victories, top 8 finishes. So what are we seeing now?
They are a ridiculous deck. They they have been popping off like crazy. They just won Battle Phase Monday today. We're filming this on, or I'm sorry, Wednesday. We're filming this on Wednesday. Battle Phase EU. They just won again. The deck itself, because all the pretty much for the most part the ban list hit the consistency of a lot of top decks. Black Wings did not get touched whatsoever. And they were already on the rise to begin with because they have searchable Necro Valley. If they don't play Simone, if they don't use his effect, they can easily get into Ancient Fairy Dragon and just bring out Necro Valley. And being able to search Necro Valley in a meta that's so reliant on the graveyard, Shiranui is reliant on the graveyard. Dark Magician at least needs navigation to pop from the graveyard. There's so many different decks. Blue Eyes,
Witchcrafters,
Neos, Crystron's, all these decks, they need their graveyard. So if you're able to go turn 1 and you just open up your Necro Valley, that's it. And then they have one of the best trap cards in Close.
Oh, that's terrible. I hate that thing because you never
can't
expect
search it or anything. But if you have it in your hand, it's like your chances of winning went from like 100% to 200% now because you're solid. Now you have an extra layer of protection.
Could you imagine if they errata that card and just take out the part where it's like, you can play this from your hand?
Yeah, it would not
Force
be as
them
good
to
for
set
sure.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes it's by the time you realize it's closed, it's too late. There was no way to search it out before. Or a certain back row, you can see if you can find it, but sometimes you just can't search a close, and you just have to hope they don't have it and just go for it.
Right.
But yeah, Black Wings, really good deck. I personally think it's the best deck of the format. Moving forward, with all these other decks getting their consistency being hit, I do believe in Black Wings.
Yeah,
sure.
that was the one in the last power rankings. We said this is the deck to watch. I'm going to stand behind that. We'll just sit and watch and see how it does this week and then next week. And I think it's going to be the top deck around for a while now.
Yeah, for sure.
Dark Magician took third place. Now they did get a hit.
They did. Same exact hit as Shiranui. They unlimited illusion, which
wasn't really a hit to begin with. It just
they
took away their
kept
trash.
that on so they could actually affect them in some way.
Right.
But basically, one less rod, so you have 33% less chance to open it. The thing with Dark Magician though is it's still Dark Magician. If it opens Circle and Navigation and Dark Magician, it doesn't even need rod to begin with. And most people, they don't really feel a difference. Obviously, you're gonna open combo less overall. Like that's a given, right? Because you have less chances of opening the one that searches any of the combo pieces that you're actually missing. If you open two circles, life sucks. But if you open a circle and a rod, you're only missing one piece at that point, and you might potentially get it with the circle. So very, very light nerf on a Dark Magician, and it's still doing Dark Magician things. It's still going to be topping like crazy. It's just the consistency just got a little bit of a love tap there.
This is one I saw on Sunday. I swear I saw Rod Circle Navigation. I don't know how many times on Saturday.
Yeah, it's crazy because if you think about it, you don't even the rod only helps your consistency getting into that combo. But if you just have most of your deck is still Dark Magician stuff, the chances of you just drawing your combo without needing rod in the first place is much higher than any other deck drawing their combo or their starter or anything else. So you're already starting at a good place, and then rod is just the gravy to keep it going.
Yeah.
So this is just they put some thinner in there, so the gravy isn't as thick now. It's just not as good.
Yeah. Nice analogy. Heroes, that was a deck that had a very high conversion rate. They didn't really get hit. So are they benefiting from the other decks that did get hit?
Not really. Black Wings is definitely coming out as the king of the OTK decks right now. It's a little hard to just play heroes right now. Obviously, a couple of bans ago, Vion got hit again. So ever since then, they've kind of been struggling. But it's just been hard for heroes. And now that Witchcrafters are here and they're negating effects, negating the Vions, negating the Stratos, it's just getting harder and harder to kind of play the deck. Where a deck like Black Wings can just Necro Valley and an OTK or close from the field, and you can't do anything from the hand, rather. So we'll have to see how people kind of adapt with heroes. I haven't really seen heroes try to play more traps or anything like that to kind of adapt to the meta. I just see heroes kind of sticking to what they've been doing.
Because they just kind of build a wall and then wait for their chance to OTK you. They just wait for one little opening and then just...
The nice thing about heroes before is they're very good at getting around back row. Blast is really good at popping or bouncing back row. Here, mass changes can play around the back row, so you can kind of dodge floodgates, dodge fiendish chains, whatever the case may be. But when the meta is starting to be more focused on monster negation and stuff like that, it's just why would you play heroes if you and most people have heroes are the whales, the three Stratos, those type of people. So most of those people are going to be playing something like Blackwing because they probably have that deck too. So we'll have to kind of sit and see where heroes go. I don't think it's necessarily a terrible deck. But I wouldn't pick it to be like my go-to deck if I wanted to play an OTK deck in a tournament. I would go for Black Wings. Yeah, because they do everything the heroes do, but way better.
Well, Black Wings, kind of like Witchcrafter, these are like decks that just are brute force approach. I mean, they got some stuff they might dance around a little bit, but then they're just gonna punch you as hard as they can. They're gonna have big monsters coming at you repeatedly. Right. And heroes, they can build that wall for a while, but then after a while they can't build the wall anymore.
it doesn't help that Sphere Kuriboh came back in heavy in the meta. And people are, just playing around heroes with Sphere Kuriboh. One Sphere Kuriboh could just stop lethal, and then you don't know what to do after that.
All right. Oh, speaking of Witchcrafters, they took 5th place last week. Now, they might not be getting a lot of wins, but they're getting a lot of second places, I've noticed.
Witchcrafter is an interesting deck. Definitely with the support that they got, the Masterpiece and the Ginny and all that, they're way better deck than when they were released. And they're it's kind of like the king of, or I guess the queens of monster negation.
Princesses,
right now,
actually, right?
Princess, I don't know what they are. Witchcrafters, the engineers, I guess. I don't know.
Yep.
So it's really interesting because I actually think that deck is kind of keeping Element Sabers at bay right now. It's really hard for E-Sabers to play in the meta that has both Dark Magician and Witchcrafter kind of active in the meta. Obviously, the Malehu and the Alistair, they can't even get their effects going off if the Witchcrafters are just constantly negating them. And then, of course, Dark Magician negates all the back row. So it's kind of hard right now for Element Saber players to effectively side in this meta, which is making it very hard to play in the meta. So Witchcrafters, they're definitely having an impact on the meta. They are still kind of, they're past the point of having to prove themselves to be tier worthy. They're definitely a good deck, but they do lose hard to the best deck in the format, Blackwings. Every single time they go up against Blackwings, so many battle phases now have been a 2-0 sweep by Blackwing, because like you said, Witchcrafters are there. Blackwing versus Witchcrafter, Blackwing just sweeps them under the rug. They can't do anything. There's Necro Valley, there's Close, there's just too much for them to go through, and they always die. It's hilarious.
Their biggest weakness is they need 2 turns. Whereas Blackwings doesn't need 2 turns.
And the other interesting thing is we actually saw this interaction today when a player failed to do it, where like if you have a Ginny or something on the board, they can only activate their effects during the main phase. So if you go to the battle phase and they're like, oh wait, hold on, let me tribute and summon Veer, and it's like, okay, I'm just gonna keep playing now.
Right.
Now that your Veer is here, that you can't dodge my effects anymore. I'm forcing you to use your Veer effect, and then bam, close from the hand, and then it's like, okay, I guess I lose. And even through ignoring that mechanic and not using it, the player still 2-0'd Witchcrafters like easily, like it wasn't even close. So
the big downfall of Witchcrafters is your starting hand. A lot of times you got to go through a lot of complicated plays to make something happen, and then a lot of times you just end up with a Veer on the field, a single monster, and then maybe a couple spells in hand. And if you have an opponent that can play through that, you get 1 negate.
Right.
So you can negate like the first Blackwing effect, but then they just keep summoning more Blackwings, and it's like, oh,
right.
Now
and the thing too is, it also kind of the most successful build has been the Lightsworn variant instead of like the Heavy Trap variant, and that variant is very, they're trying to get good mills, and if you just don't get good mills, you don't get a good whatever the skill is to bring a card back, a spell card from your Show of Nightmares. If you don't get one of those good ones, then you're just gonna have a rough time.
You play that charge of the Light Brigade, and you're like, oh, there go both my Raidens into the grave. So I guess I'm not synchroing this game.
In a funny way, they've almost kind of replaced E-Sabers. So like they're kind of the gatekeepers in the meta, where it's like, okay, you need to play an out to Witchcrafter, or else there's going to negate you and stall you out until like you just lose because your deck didn't have anything to play with it. Not to say E-Sabers aren't there; they're still there. Doing that, but not as effectively stalling as Witchcrafters, that's for sure. And that's why you see them lose a lot to decks that are playing Shadow Game, in Ritual Beast, and sometimes your Sunjoin still pops in here and there.
Well, I think Witchcrafters is one of those decks. I almost hate to compare it. This deck just popped in my head, but like a Metaphys kind of deck or a Blue Eyes kind of deck, where it might not start out strong, but if you let it get ramped up, it's really hard to play against. Once they get, they get all the Witchcrafter spells. Maybe they have something else in their hand, like a Charge of the Light Brigade. Maybe they have a Machine Angel.
Oh yeah,
if they have like 5 spells and
if they
2
get
monsters,
Veer and Kiwi, it's over.
Right.
It's like there's very little you can do. It's just if they get to that board state, it's GG.
All right, this next one in 6th place was Neos. That one was really hot, not this past week, but the week before it was really hot. It fell off really hard. I guess people just aren't playing it. Like they got their win, they moved on.
I mean, obviously, it was hit a little bit because they lost access to the Fox.
And give and take. Don't forget give and take.
And give and take. So the people who are memeing with give and take, which actually is not that bad of a card, but it's actually hilarious. It got hit.
Oh, it was hilarious watching it in a tournament. You know, it happens. It's just like, what are you gonna do?
It's some funny shit. But you know, losing Fox, you can't play Fox and Neos. Neos is still limited to 2. So being unable to play the Fox just lowered their kind of OTK potential, which is something they needed. The deck is still very good. It actually just won Battle Phase Monday, which is huge for them. But it definitely, you know, again, it's it's like you need your back row. So you need to make sure you switch Rune to your back row. A little Neos isn't going to do anything on his own. A 2600 beater, he's just not. That's just not enough. So you need to have your invoke, and there's been a huge upspike in chain disappearance being played. The card that, you know, if your monster has 1,000 or less attack, they banishes all those monsters from the deck and the field. So obviously, Alistair is only 1,000 attack. Only E-Sabers can make him more than 1,000 attack with their field spell. So it's really, really hard. Well, naturally, you know, without like cheesing it. So it's really hard for these decks to play around it. Of course, Veer's 1,000 attack, so, you know, change disappearance on Veer, and it's like out of here. So Neos invoked, it's running into a few issues, losing Fox, losing access, you know, more people playing counters that counter the deck naturally. And again, just being a deck that lives and dies by its back row, it needs really, really good back row to do anything. Karma Cuts, Raigeki Breaks, and Karma Cut, of course, being a selection box card, very difficult to get into. So we'll have to kind of see what that deck does. And also, of course, when the ban was dropped, everyone was trying the big decks, right? The Dark Condition, the Black. When this deck was never really super popular, it was always kind of low key. So I also feel like people dropped it to go check those decks out real fast, and now have started playing it again because you're starting to see it a lot more now. And only time we'll see where they go. Like I said, they won Battle Phase Monday, so shit, you know, they're doing something right.
All right, the next deck, we're getting down into like 7th place. This is usually where we cut the power rankings off because things start to get ugly after this point. But we'll bring up Ritual Beasts. They're just kind of what they are. They got nerfed a while back, you know, getting Elder to 2. We see them. Didn't we see today a Ritual Beast player die by his own burn?
Yeah. Feels bad, man. Yeah,
they're just kind of where they're
adopted. Yeah, they've adopted this very stall heavy play style. They're going back to playing ambush, which I personally don't like seeing. I really liked OTK variants of Ritual Beast. Those were fun to watch because there's a lot of technical play going on. The more ambush style, playing, you know, more the Window Stall with Lava Golem and Shadow Game.
It's become very degenerate. I love it.
It's become very degenerate, but hey, you know, like when Witchcrafters and Lightsworn and all these people are milling like crazy into their deck, it's a viable strategy. You know, why wouldn't you go for it? And usually Ritual Beasts don't have many cards in their graveyard, so you know, it is what it is. I do feel like Ritual Beasts, they're kind of there's more Purgatrio in the meta as well, obviously, with now 2 Invoke decks basically being in the meta, and E-Saber and Neos Invoke. It's kind of scary to play Ritual Beast. So, you know, I think they're trying to find their way still, seeing if they're not really sure if they like Shadow Game. I believe there was a Ritual Beast in the finals not too long ago with Shadow Game, so it's kind of still working. Overall, the ban list, though, didn't really affect that part. Yeah, it was that's just how they've been for a while now.
All right. I do want to give a dishonorable mention to the best deck in the game, falling off all metric lists that are out there, including the power rankings, finishing 12th last week. They got hit. Where are we at with that deck? They're done.
Cristrons are, so even before the ban list, people were like, ooh, I don't know about Cristrons. You know, obviously it's still it was a deck that was better in the hands of good players. So for example, 1% literally brought 5 Cristrons to their match right before they got nerfed. And that's why they won. They had a whole shit ton of Crystons, right? And they knew how to play them. So the deck was fine. This most recent nerf was pretty brutal. Impact to 2 is really disgusting because you can't play Ryi and Impact, or you have to play it 1 and 1, which is also really bad because
you can't do Corion.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can't effectively do Corion, and Impact is how they got over Casitas.
Right.
So, having to play only 1 Impact if you mill it or anything like that is just not. It's sad days. The deck is pretty much C stealth attack at this point. All other variants are very clunky. They have to play things like Crystron entry again, which is just extreme clunk, like extreme clunk. So is the deck done? We're still going to see it from time to time, and I still think it's going to be a competitively viable deck, but it's not as strong as it was. That last nerf definitely hit pretty hard. As we could see, the highest rating was like top 4 the week when it happened, just to test it out with Metal Overdrive, who is one of the best Crystron players out there, and he only got top 4, so that's good, but you would expect someone like that would win the whole thing or even make top 2. Konami hates Crystrons. What can you say?
They're the new Dark Lords. They're gonna have
yeah, that's pretty much what
cult
it is.
Following.
Like, this logo.
Yeah,
they're dropping off for sure. So we'll see what happens with them.
All right. So another one that wasn't really on the list last week because it was like 11th place. It had a second place in BPEU and top 8 in the Battle Phase Monday. But I guess Neg 1 decided I'm bringing Blue Eyes back, baby.
Yeah, Blue Eyes, White Dragon. So Blue Eyes actually has a pretty good Witchcrafter matchup, which is what he dominated pretty much in the Clan Wars, and that prompted everyone to be like, "Holy shit, Blue Eyes is good." They still haven't done too much in tournament play. People are definitely jumping on the bandwagon, but it's still good old Blue Eyes, White Dragon. If you don't brick, you go open God, you are crazy. Again, they're really good at negating the graveyard, and right now, like we said, decks that can negate the graveyard are really good against Shiranui, especially when Shiranui are more bricky now. And then Spear Dragon over and over and over again on back row dominates the meta as well. So they were definitely a deck that pretty much since everything's consistency came down, Blue Eyes consistency was always shit. So now it's it's coming down to their level, and they're like, yes, finally, hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the party. So they can definitely start playing again. They're definitely a good deck. It's time we'll have to see where they kind of fall in place, and if there'll be more of a slightly off meta pick or there'll be a full on meta pick. We'll have to see.
Blue Eyes is that deck that walks into the party or whatever, and everybody's like, "Oh, Blue Eyes is here." Oh, don't look at him! Don't look at him!
It's like bipolar. It's like they'll either bring a whole bunch of alcohol with them, or they just come in like, "Oh, guys, I'm sorry, I didn't have anything to."
Well, they're just a deck. They come, they go. They come, they go. It's like Blue Eyes is back. It's like, which version? What are we doing this time? What is it this time? All right, and then another deck that probably just has nails in the coffin, getting ready to lower it down into the grave, I would think. Maybe not. We'll see. We can't test it yet is the problem. And that's Cyber Dragons.
Yeah, so Cyber Dragons, obviously we can test it in tournament play. We just have to follow the skill properly.
Well, that's assuming that we're going to have people that follow it properly.
Right.
Which we do see a little bit. But
and obviously it's going to be easier once the skill's there, so people don't, they won't actually try it. But we've had people, Drizzles, who won a Meta Weekly with Cyber Dragons, tried Cyber Dragons in Battle Phase the very next day, and boy, did it go bad. Obviously, Overflow now at 2. Overflow is one of their best cards. They not only do they want it at 3 to begin with, but it being at 2 makes them so they can't play Econ or Concentrating Current. But people have been switching from Concentrating Current to Econ, and Econ was really good into decks like Turn 1 Sun Saga, for example. They try to Sun Saga you pop them with that, and you're good to go. It also doesn't help that now that Witchcrafters are firmly in the meta. Fun fact, you turn off all the little baby Cyber Dragon effects, their names are no longer Cyber Dragon.
Yep,
and
that's
thus
hilarious.
They can't do anything.
Yeah.
So, and now, of course, virtual cage being open. It just, and of course, and probably the biggest hit, the skill is actually so huge that it changed. Being able to get proto Cyber Dragons was so good for Cyber Dragon because they could just pop a couple of their life points, even just a Cosmic Cyclone, and they have a monster that can interact with all of their cards. I have seen multiple times over the last 2 weeks where Cyber Dragons are just unable to activate their cards, and they're only like 500 away from activating their skill. It's just it's really bad. The skill nerf is really bad, and Overflow to 2 is like pretty bad because they can't play Econ anymore. Or if they do play Econ, they have to side out their Overflow, which is like, oh god, what is happening? So Cyber Dragons, I do anticipate it potentially not being in the meta for much longer. I think people are just kind of holding on for now. It's just rough. It's just rough to play them right now.
Well, they're that deck, one of those decks where they don't have anything after their second turn. If the game's not over by then, they're done.
They're like, ooh, I'm gonna go ahead and scoop.
Yeah, they've played all the cards in their hand. They're probably down to 1,000 life points or something, and there's just like, well, I guess I'm done now. So if you slow that down where it takes them 3 or 4 turns to get what they need, they're already dead because their individual pieces aren't enough to keep them alive.
Right.
You know what I mean? If they get a bunch of little
baby dark,
get the cores out there, and like you said, they get negated.
I have core and Veer, and that's it. Okay.
They flip their trap, and then they get negated by Veer. So you've just used the trap; it just goes to the grave.
Yeah,
it's pretty funny to watch. So yeah, all right, guys. I hope you found this informative. We're gonna keep an eye on the tournaments. We get to watch enough of them every week, so we can let you know how the decks are actually performing. So hopefully this will help you in your deck choices on the ladder or in tournaments or just when you're hanging out with your friends having fun. So if you did like it, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Check us out on Twitch, Twitter, and Discord. And if you want to play in our tournaments, make sure to join our Discord. You'll get notifications about that. And make sure to check out Gamersupps. We're affiliated with them. You can get 10% off with the code in the description. So we hope to see you out over on Twitch and in the Discord.
Bye, YouTube.
See you later. I'm Circus, and that's Ryi.
I didn't want to break your flow because it's doing amazing.